Hello, everyone. I'm Dean Hallett, President of Hallett Leadership, and I'm here today to talk to you once again about the book that I wrote, The Missing Piece. Last time I connected with you, I was sharing chapter one and my thoughts around that, which was the importance of people. People are the foundation, the bedrock of any organization. Without the people, you don't have an organization. Now that we have that established, today I want to talk to you about how people can show up in the best way possible, what I would call authentic leadership. Now, why does authentic leadership even matter? Because if you have authentic leadership and you have that connection that creates, you're going to have better relationships with your colleagues, you're going to have increased trust, increased productivity, you're going to have a more positive work environment. Now, authentic leadership isn't just blurting out to everybody what you think and how you feel about them. You've probably come across some leaders like that. They'll do that. They'll walk into a room and say, "Hey, I'm just being honest. This is what's going on." Well, if they shut down everybody else in the room, then they're not really elevating the team. They're not creating an environment for people to come in and share their best ideas. And they're certainly not creating a true level of collaboration. So my definition of authentic leadership is truly showing up as the best version of who I am, to facilitate the team, facilitate the project, facilitate the company, to elevate everybody. It's not about being right, it's about being my best. So, if you take a look at this diagram, you'll see in the center of the circle, it talks about our true self. And it's a phrase that gets thrown out there a lot. What does it really mean? To me, think about a toddler. Think about a young toddler who, like, what are the positive attributes of these young kids almost universally? They are spontaneous, they're caring, they're honest, they are courageous. They'll walk on the back of or a ledge, or back of a couch, and not worried about falling off. Somebody's going to save me, I'm good. Um, they are powerful, especially before they can talk. Think about it. Before they can even talk, they can actually get everything they want. Well, sure, they're going to cry. How long can somebody? How long can a young toddler cry? How loud can a young toddler cry? Longer and louder than you ever thought possible. But they find a way to get what they want. They're very powerful. The list goes on and on. There are these wonderful things, and I ask people all the time, are these things true about most toddlers? And they tend to agree. And I say, great. Are they true about you? And they say, no, not really. Maybe sometimes with a small group of people that I really trust. Okay, then why not? What happened? Life happened. Certain events took place, and we formed fixed beliefs and fixed behaviors. Now, I'll walk you through a couple examples of how that can happen. So, I'm a caveman. Walking through the forest one day, I've never seen lightning before. I see lightning come out of the sky, strike a tree, and the tree bursts into flames. What beliefs might I form? Well, very obvious belief I could say is lightning causes fire. Okay, great. Next day, I'm walking through another part of the forest and I see a tree on fire. What conclusions might I draw? Well, lightning must have struck that tree. Is that true? Maybe. I don't know, but my belief tells me that it is. So now I am forming a level of certainty about something that I'm not certain about. So this happens all the time. We form these beliefs and then we start exhibiting behaviors that are consistent with those beliefs. So let me give you an example, personal example. When I was young, I was 4 years old, my brother was 5, next door neighbor 6. Next door neighbor thinks it's a great idea to create this game where he says permission granted and my brother starts hitting me. And then, ironically, when he says hit Dean, it means stop. Now, I will tell you, I formed some beliefs about the world. Maybe not in that moment, but over time as this continued, and it didn't continue with the neighbor very long because we moved within a year, but the bullying behavior from my brother did continue. And I formed some beliefs that were along the lines of the world is not a safe place. I wasn't like verbalizing these, but believe me, in my subconscious, these beliefs were becoming very, very embedded in the way that I showed up. So the world's not a safe place. It's better to be seen and not heard. Maybe better to be not to be seen at all. As I went through grade school, I got good grades. And so I told myself in some ways that I can get by in life on my intellect alone. I stopped opening up emotionally. I was pretty shut down. Now, this went on way longer than it should have. But the point was that I formed these beliefs and then I would go out and gather evidence. If I opened up to a new friend and I got criticized, I'm like, see? As I got older, I went out and asked a girl and I didn't get the response I was looking for. I'm like, oh, see? People are dangerous. People are mean. All these different reasons that I came up with based on my belief system to not show up as my true self. I would let certain parts of me out, but other parts I would hold well in reserve. Okay? So, the only way to get through this is to have a breakthrough. Otherwise, I'm going to be leading people based on my belief system. Think about it. If I go into business and I have a belief that I am only my intellect and I'm not creating connection with the team, then and people don't really connect with me if I'm not creating connection, how am I going to be as a leader? How am I going to be in developing trust? So we need to break through those fixed beliefs and fixed behaviors and reestablish connection with our true selves. And from there, we can truly show up as our best selves. And there's lots of tools that we use to do that. We use feedback, we use communication exercises. We do a lot of things in the work that we do in our coaching work and our leadership programs that allow people to truly get a deep sense of those parts of them that they've been holding back and to be able to bring forward those parts back into their lives. Another key element of authentic leadership is the fact that we cannot see everything ourselves. What tends to happen, the reason that that's important, is because we need to get other people's perspectives in order to be able to get a 360-degree view of the problem. You can see by this chart here that if there is an object that we are looking at, look at it as a challenge or an opportunity, depending upon our perspective, where we are standing, what lens we're looking through at that problem, we may walk away with a different perspective than someone else. So I want to get everybody's perspectives, because if I get all of them, then I can get a much better sense of what the real problem or real opportunity is. So why wouldn't I do that? Well, the reason is because as I've gone up through organizations and as people go up and get higher and higher levels of authority, our belief system kicks back into gear. I have a belief that, oh, I'm now a higher level person. I'm supposed to have all the answers. I have a belief that if I demonstrate weakness, I'm going to get fired. People are going to think I'm a fraud. Maybe I think I'm a fraud and I'm afraid they're going to find out. So I have this belief that I'm supposed to have the answers and therefore will use only my perspective and only my view of the world in making my decisions. And since that is not really a comprehensive view of what the problem is, I'm actually leading people blindly. I'll give you an example. There's an old Indian folktale about 6 monks that they hear that there's a new object in the village and they want to figure out what it is. So they all go into the village and they all walk up to the different parts of this object and they all have a different takeaway. One says it's a tree, one says it's a wall, one says it's a fan, one says it's a rope, one says it's a spear, and one says it's a hose. You know what it is? It's an elephant. All 6 of those monks, each of those 6 monks had walked up to a different part of the elephant. I'll let you figure out which part they determined was what. Without the collective perspectives that they had after looking at that object, or actually touching that object, they're blind monks, after touching that object, they wouldn't be able to ascertain what it really was. The same is true when we're dealing in business, when we're dealing in life, and we're trying to address things. If we only have our perspective, we really don't have a 360-degree view. So it's important to get that. Okay? Otherwise, we have an illusion of certainty, and we believe we are leading people down the right path, but we're actually leading blindly, like I said. Okay? Now, how many of you know self-righteous leaders that have all the answers? We've all seen them. It's not productive. First of all, people don't feel engaged in the process because they're just being told what to do because their point of view doesn't matter. Now, I recently worked with a senior executive at an organization. He was formerly practicing law and now he was general counsel and more at this organization. And we were talking one day, and it was a pivotal moment for him because he started talking about, maybe it was his law background, maybe some of it was his upbringing, but he felt like he had to win every argument because he needed to be validated. He had to walk away and say, I won. I know that I'm important because I was able to win the argument. But the reality was, it was all about winning the argument, not figuring out what was the best way forward in the organization or the best way forward for that particular topic. And we got into a little bit of a dialogue, and I said, so why do you feel that you need to win the argument? He goes, well, because I need to be right. And if you're not right, what happens? Well, then I'm wrong. Well, if you're wrong, what happens? And we went through a series of questions, and the bottom line for him was, if I'm wrong, then I'm not worth anything. And he was talking about self-worth. Now, the reality is, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. A perfect human being is a human being that makes mistakes because we are all flawed. The more we're willing to embrace that, the more we can show up authentically and be willing to risk, be willing to try new things. We can't demand perfection of ourselves and demand perfection of everyone else, because we will never learn anything new. By him coming off of the need to be right, he was willing to see new things. He was 1% open to new possibilities of what could happen. So I suggest to you, get other people's perspectives, like the 6 monkeys, like the diagram shows. Increase your ability to get a 360-degree perspective of what the problem or opportunity is that you're facing. Create an environment, a safe environment for your people to come to, where they can share and express ideas, where they can give and receive feedback with each other, and push each other in a constructive way to be their best. Because if you can elevate everybody and you can create an environment where they are willing to share all of their ideas and perspectives, you're going to have the best information available to you in order to address a problem. So knock down the walls and increase connection and create a higher level of authentic behavior in your organization today. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.